What's going on, you guys? You're looking at the all-new BMW Z4, and you can pick one of these up for around $40,000. But should you? Let's tear this car up and find out. Now, the reason you can pick this specific car up for $40,000 is because this is the 30i, not the M40i. So you get a 2-liter twin-turbo 4-cylinder engine under this hood, and it makes around 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. But just like all German cars, they have to be lying. This thing's quicker than you think. And I would argue that this is one of the best-sounding 4-cylinder cars you can get. I'm not joking, just wait. So the internet claims that you can do 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds and the quarter mile in 13.8 seconds in this car. But what will we actually get in normal conditions? Let's put that to the test. All right, you guys, we got everything in Sport Plus mode. Let's go ahead and do a 0 to 60 test and see what this thing will do. Ready, set, go. So no, this car is not super fast, but it is quick. That's the perfect way to describe it, and it's a lot of fun to drive on back roads. I'm gonna give the acceleration a C. So moving on, you get 4 piston brakes in the front and 1 piston brakes in the back, and this car only weighs around 3,300 pounds. Let's see how quick this car can stop from 60 miles an hour. And see what this thing can do. Ready? Go. So when you hit the brakes, they're very responsive, but it seems like when you really get on them and try to stop down to 0, they do struggle a little bit, especially for a sports car. So I'm gonna give it a C. All right, now this is gonna be a good one because that's what the Z4 was built for, back roads. Let's take some sharp corners at high speeds and see how this thing can handle. So my last review was the Dodge Challenger Scat Pack, and totally different story getting in this thing. It is so fun to toss into corners, and even when it's a bumpy road, this thing will, yes, it's kind of scary going up and down when you're on a bumpy turn, but it plants you into the ground, and I'm gonna give the cornering an A. Now, because this car is relatively new, there's not much historical data on the reliability of this car, but if you do a little bit of research, you'll find that people say the expected reliability is going to be above average compared to most modern cars. Based on how this car feels and everything that I read, I'm gonna give this an A for reliability. For the Z4, this is going to be an interesting category. First of all, when you look at the front end, it is so distinguishable from any other BMW that has been made recently. This is in the same kind of year as the G80s, which super enlarged the grille, but this one still kept the more old school design. By old school, I mean like 5 years ago. But just as a whole, this thing looks very unique and different from all the other BMWs out there today. So starting on the front of this car, you get a very nicely designed grille. The size is good, the materials used in it look very nice, and the headlights are the thing that makes this car so distinguishable. They're kind of off to the side of the car. It looks weird at first, but the more you look at it, it kind of grows on you. And also, all Z4s are convertible. They don't look that good with the top up, as do all convertibles, but when it's down, this car is sexy. And the wheels that come on this car really aren't flashy at all, but they do look nice on the Z4. In the back of this car, you have a very sharp looking Z4 badge. You also have a 30i badge, and if it was an M40i, you would get an M40i badge, which gives you that 6-cylinder. And you also have a little built-in lip in the back. The way that they kind of made, if you want to call it a spoiler, I guess you could, not really though, but it does look nice on this car. And as for the back of the car, the best part are those dual-tip active exhausts that actually make this 4-cylinder sound good. So to assign a grade to the exterior of this car, I am quite torn between a B and an A. And again, this is really up to your own personal taste, but the front end of this car is so good looking, I'm gonna give it an A. And trust me when I say this car breaks necks like crazy. So I keep telling you guys, for what this car is, it sounds good. But let me be quiet and let you guys take a listen. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you're never gonna get around the fact that it's a 4-cylinder. Everyone's gonna know. Those pops are what really set this apart from a lot of other 4-cylinders. If I have to put a grade to the exhaust sound, I'm gonna give it a C. It's definitely above average for 4-cylinders, but just as a whole in the car space, a C is pretty fair. Now, right when you open up the door of this car, this door panel is so sharp and nice looking, and it complements all of the colors on the interior that you'll see in just a second. And contrary to most cars we've looked at, on the door sill, you don't get Z4, but you do get BMW, and that looks nice. Even the seats are these nice red, sporty colored leather seats that are so comfortable to sit in. And the steering wheel in the Z4 is actually noticeably different from the other BMW models. It's just a little bit more bulgy in the center, and the spokes at the bottom are a bit further apart. And this car also does come with lane assist, but I'm starting to hate it because I was moving over for somebody on their bicycle and the car veered in and almost hit them. Not good. And the gauge cluster that you get in this car is very modern looking. I love the newer BMW gauge clusters. It's not fully configurable, but as you switch through the drive modes, you get slightly different visuals inside of the gauge cluster, but overall, the design of this is very nice. And in the Z4, there's really only a few spots with ambient lighting. You get some on your door panel, some on the dash, and that's about it. Nothing excessive. This does also have an infotainment system, and it's really the perfect size, and it really completes the look of the dash and the center console. It flows very nicely. In this infotainment system, you have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth, navigation, all of the basics. You also do have access to individually configuring your drive modes, but that's doable through a little button that we're going to talk about in the center console here in a second. And to wrap up the design of the dash of this car, I think it's organized perfectly. It's not some excessive cluster of buttons, but it all looks very nice. Everything's easy to find. You got heated seats in there, climate control, radio button, all your necessary stuff. Now, looking at the center console, it's got a very nice design. I love the black material used on this, as well as this small, but just enough cluster of buttons in the middle. So you have your parking assist, traction control. You also have a knob to control your infotainment system if you don't want to use the touchscreen. I would never use that though. And then you also have all of your selectable drive modes. So the buttons you have quick access to are Sport, Comfort, and Eco Pro. And when you hit Sport, those valves on the exhaust open and really make this car come alive. But maybe you want to hear the exhaust, but you still want to have a comfortable ride. No problem. You can individually configure that inside of the infotainment system. In this center console, you also have your convertible button, and that's always a good time to use. Now, right between the driver and passenger seat, you have just a little area for storage. It's got 2 cup holders in there, and again, this is not supposed to be a daily driver car if you're somebody that needs to haul stuff around all the time, so understandable, but at least it has cup holders. No back seats, but that's fine with me. This is very driver oriented. So to assign a grade to the Z4's interior, this specific one with this color is so cool. I'm gonna have to go with an A, not because of all the amenities, but rather the design of this interior is just so cool looking. As for the Z4's comfort, it's actually pretty nice. I said this wasn't supposed to be a daily driver, but that's again considering the practicality side. But if you wanted to take a 3 or 4 hour long road trip in this thing, it would feel just fine. So as for comfort, I'm gonna give this a B. Nothing exceptional, but it's definitely above average. So how realistic is this car to own? Yes, it's $40,000. Yes, it's a BMW, and it's also newer, so unless you find somebody who's already put a bunch of miles on it, you have no choice but to take a hit on the depreciation. As for MPG, you get 25 in the city and 32 on the highway, which is actually really good. Based on what I read, it sounds like your maintenance costs are going to be over $1,000 a year, and if you get this with low mileage, depreciation is going to be the worst thing that happens to you. So I'm sure the cost to own this car is going to go down over the years, but as for right now, I'm going to give this a C. Let me know what you guys think of this car down in the comments below. Would you buy this? Because I think I would actually look at it. Again, $40,000 is a lot of different cars you could go with, but this is one I would include in maybe my top 15 list. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.